Whether people want to admit it or not, WWE is not the be-all end-all of wrestling. It's like the Walmart of pro wrestling. It's established, it's easily consumed, there's a lot of shady shit going on in the background, but there's probably better options for you if you look elsewhere. Today, I want to delve into the wrestlers who happen to arrive in WWE past their peak. This is totally subjective, so you're free to disagree in the comments, but this is my interpretation. Let's kick it off. Probably the biggest letdown of any WWE run for anyone ever. Sting was the soul of WCW. He and his greatest rival Ric Flair embodied everything WCW stood for during the entirety of their respective careers. It was always a great debate of what would happen if Sting just showed up at Titan Towers one day. During my childhood, the eternal struggle was the wait for the match that never came. Sting versus The Undertaker. Those two guys can downplay it all they want. That was the money match of the 2000s, where Austin and Goldberg was the money match of the 90s. More on that later. Sting had a Hall of Fame career before he hit TNA, let alone WWE. Then he finally shows up in a genuinely pretty sweet moment and a seeming sense of the guard changing, only to rehash the fucking Monday Night Wars again and lose to the semi-retired Triple H because Vince had ants in his pants about WCW again. Then they job him out to Seth Rollins, and why did that even happen in the first place? Old Man Stinger did not need a world title match, and Rollins gained nothing from the win because Sting ended up getting hurt for real. Thank God he had that awesome AEW send-off though, and I got to see him twice. Freakzilla Scott Steiner should have worked very well in WWE, full stop. He had a good tag run in the New Generation era and then just kind of migrated back to Atlanta in the mid-90s. But good lord, did he ever have a sweet WCW run. That guy was a killer, he always had entertaining promos, and he racked up a mountain of titles. And he was one of the sole highlights of the death of WCW. But no, when Eazy-E couldn't keep the money train rolling for WCW, Big Papa Pump had to show up in Stamford. And we were pretty much fucked from the start. He got pushed into a feud with Triple H and slaughtered twice with horrible match psychology and botches galore. He then trickled down into a feud and subsequent tag team with Test to end his tenure. What a waste of fucking time. They never just let him be himself and work his style. Speaking of wasted potential, Ultimo Dragon. This motherfucker was the belt god way before Kenny Omega or Mercedes Moné ever were. He racked up pretty much every junior heavyweight title in the world during the mid-90s and was a fixture of pretty much every promotion on TV. Dragon was a first ballot Hall of Famer before he even batted an eye at WWE. His WWE run was dog water though. They tried to present him as the yin to Rey Mysterio's yang, but they did it in such a half-assed way it didn't amount to nothing. He got done with the company in pretty much a year after signing. His most notable thing was being in a fucking video game. Diamond Dallas Page was dealt such a raw deal by the wrestling business. He accomplished everything in his career in spite of his age and inexperience by sheer work ethic and determination. He had such a great connection with the fans that he feels like the true people's champion to me. I feel like DDP's prime was probably 97 and 98. His awesome Randy Savage and Goldberg feuds were just timeless. I just can't believe how shitty they presented him in the WWF. He literally took a pay cut to expedite his contract there and then got positioned as a heel stalker of The Undertaker's wife. This guy is married to Kimberly Page. What the fuck are we doing here? Eventually we get past that and into a decent mid-card babyface run, but the damage was already done. DDP should have been positioned as the top star he genuinely was. Now this next entry is solely focusing on his initial career in WWE. With that context, I'm pretty sure you can decipher that it's Goldberg I'm talking about. And I mean, this isn't going to be a glowing endorsement of Bill Goldberg. He ended the GOAT's career with an errant kick to the face and tried to sabotage Chris Jericho's career for being more talented than him. Goldberg was pretty much handed every opportunity he ever had on a silver platter by virtue of having the look of a top guy in wrestling and a shoddy NFL background. I can't lie though and say that his run on top did not help WCW stay on top of the industry in the most cutthroat time there ever was. He was a household name comparable to Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's saying something. But yeah, I mean, his initial WWE run was shit from a butt. It had its moments, namely the Elimination Chamber match at SummerSlam before like the last 30 seconds of the match. He slaughtered a bunch of people on Raw, and that was pretty sweet. And he helped Eddie win his first belt. And his debut was pretty cool too. But there was just too much bullshit in there to enjoy it. Abyss never jumping to WWE did not make sense to me as a kid. He was rumored to make the move in the build to WrestleMania 23 to fight The Undertaker, but honestly, I don't think they would have done his character and his barbaric wrestling style justice. He was essentially made for the WWE. He had that convoluted backstory, and he had everything suited for that company at that time. He had a great back catalog before his eventual move to the Fed though. NWA champion, TNA Hall of Famer, X Division champion, and about a dozen or two all-time hardcore classics under his belt. Apparently he's an agent now, and that's pretty sick. I mean, he's got a great mind for wrestling, and he deserves a continued career after giving his body to that business. Our final entrant is one of the most recent defectors to WWE, Pentagon Jr., now simply Penta. He seems to have carved out a pretty solid upper mid-card niche as the workhorse of the Raw brand. Pentagon looks like he'll be a very reliable hand in WWE for years to come. I'm pretty happy for him. But this work that he's doing right now is by no means his prime. That would be Lucha Underground, in my opinion. He was consistently the most engaging and protected character in an uber-talented roster of people and one of the best in-ring workers on that roster. If you need one example that Penta's best work is behind him, watch Ultima Lucha. His Cero Miedo match with Vampiro, up to that point, was the most violent and captivating hardcore match I've ever seen on American television. Then Tony Storm and Mariah outdid it the other day, but you know, that's another story. Regardless, I'm not saying Pentagon is washed. He had a sweet tag team run in AEW, but this ain't the beast that I grew up with. I remember that arm breaker sacrifice move that he did used to write people off TV for weeks in Lucha Underground. Now it's just like a tertiary transitional move. What a shame. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I read all of your comments, so drop me one. I'll check you later.